Hey yo, we put free money where the mic is. He got it on lock like Rikers. Green rebates get you paid, so a lot of people like us. Money Talks Podcast, watch it on all your devices. Woo! Hey, welcome back to the Money Talks Podcast. Today we are joined by a driving force behind one of the most exciting nights in cannabis, the MJs and the official MJs after party, sponsored by none other than Green Rebates. Estelle Skogstad-Kurk. Is it Skogstad or Skogstad? I totally should have asked you before we started.
That's kind of funny because it's like the most common first question I get asked because they're like, "Do I pronounce it this way? Do I pronounce it this way?" It's Skogstad, but it's properly pronounced Skookstad.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but we can say Skogstad.
Skogstad, got it. So Estelle Skogstad-Kurk has
Yeah.
years under her belt planning high-profile events. She's worked with Mike Tyson, Raekwon the Chef, and Ric Flair. If that isn't your dream blunt rotation, then I don't even want to talk to you. As an event planner for Fairchild, she turns outlandish ideas into real-life experiences, and she helps bring class and professionalism to an industry that still gets unfairly stereotyped. Please welcome Estelle Skogstad-Kurk. How the heck are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always so curious about podcasts and being on them because I really never know what's going to be asked of me because I'm a serial entrepreneur and I dabble in so many different things. So I'm always like the curveballs are always great for me.
Yeah, it's just if you don't know the answer to any questions, then we could always just phone a friend or we could edit out anything that you want edited out. It's really, this isn't a court test, a court hearing. This isn't a serious this isn't a job interview. We're just two people who work in cannabis who are shooting the shit. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so as one of the main event planners in cannabis, I mean, you're originally born and raised in Seattle, right? Has that always
No,
been
I'm
okay?
no, I'm from Connecticut, actually. I'm from the East Coast. I was born and raised in the East Coast. I lived there till I was 17. And then after I graduated from high school, I moved to Florida with my mom and my brother, and it was just us. And then I lived there for 5 years. And then I decided to travel to the Pacific Northwest. It's where my sister was, and I needed something different, a change of scenery. And I have been here ever since. So it's been like 11 years.
Awesome. So how did you first get into the cannabis industry? Was it through Fairchild?
Yeah, so I when I first moved to Seattle, I actually applied for a job before I moved to Seattle, in the hospitality industry, and before I went to or traveled to Seattle, I took a 2 week road trip cross country by myself, met up with some friends along the way, and then I think it was like 3 or 4 days later, I had an interview at a club, and James Zachodni, one of the founders of Fairchild, was there to interview me along with a couple other people. And I got the job. And, he was doing Dope Magazine at the time alongside with David. And from there on out, they knew me from then. And a couple years later, they started Fairchild and they hired me to be their event manager. And that was over 6 years ago.
Wow.
So, and here I am today, still with them.
Congrats. So it's such a unique skill being an event planner, being an event manager. What are some of the things that kind of like make you thrive in that specific job?
I think for me, it's really important that whoever we are working with is happy. Like, that's my number one goal. And understanding what their idea is of a successful, brand activation or an event, if we're working with them, as a client. And, my saying is uniting the vision and the client. And it's just like that's a cohesive thing, right? And I always really want to make sure that their vision comes to life, and it's making sure that we are doing our job and doing that. There's a lot of people out there that don't really care about that concept, and for me that's kind of what I live by. So I think that's really important to me.
Nice. And how many years have you guys been doing the MJs now?
So this will be our third year doing the MJ's Awards.
So tell me about like last year's, or I guess the last 2 years.
of throwing the MJs, the highs and lows, how exciting that's been for y'all.
You know, when we first started talking about it, it was it was very, for me, I was just like, oh my God, this is like the Emmys. Like, you know what I mean? And this is a big deal because it's in cannabis and it's got its own unique its own unique award show because it's not music, it's not movie, it's cannabis. And there's a lot of elements in cannabis. So when we first started building it out, I I was really excited. And so the concept that was coming to life, anything from the building the awards to, where it was going to be, which was at the Palms in the Palms Casino. We had the after party at Chaos, and the Pearl Theater is where we had the award show itself. So if you've ever been in there, it's big, it's extravagant, and all you can think of is like just wearing these elegant outfits, black tie, dresses, and just like, holy crap, this vision is coming to life. It's going to be so beautiful. And so I think, from the first time we did it, it was something that everyone was really excited about because there wasn't really anything like that happening in the industry, and it's international. Like there have been other award shows in cannabis, but nothing like this. We've had Mike Tyson come through, we've had all these big named presenters come through, and that in itself is a big piece. Like there's so many pieces to building out an award show. You have the concept, you have getting people in the door, you have the sponsors, the nominees, the presenters, the host. What are the skits going to look like? There's just so much to tie in, and trying to do that within a certain time limit, right?
It's so interesting because, like, when do you guys start working on the MJs? Because this is like a night, it lasts 3 hours, but I'm sure thousands of hours go into planning just for a 3 hour event. So is that
I
like the
know.
night of the day? Like, where's your stress level the day of the MJs after putting thousands of hours into planning for it?
Yeah, so we start, months in advance, right? Because we have to, make sure that we have the venue in place, and we have to reach out to the nominees, and then we have to contact the sponsors. So it's like, I think my stress level personally, because I'm kind of like behind the scene helping with logistics of like sponsors, nominees, marketing, and all of these elements that really keep it together. I mean, for me, really, it's like a month before
Yeah.
because that's when everyone starts to, the emails just keep flowing and they don't stop. And it's continuous until literally the day of, and then the day of, you wake up and you start, and then till the end, you're just like, where did that all go? How many months did we put into this? And for exactly like 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
So, but it's an adrenaline rush for sure. It's exciting, it's motivating, it keeps me like, wanting to do more and more. Like what's next, what's bigger, what can we do better next year? So it's always like a driven force.
And were you guys the first company to throw the MJs, or was it a different company? Like, did the MJs actually just start 3 years ago through Fairchild? Oh,
Yes,
wow. So
yes.
how did that concept start? I mean, it's such a great idea, and it helps out so many companies, and it gets so many people excited.
Yeah, I mean, David and James have been in an industry where they've thrown award shows before. So this is not their first rodeo. And they wanted to tie that in with cannabis, and very smart idea. And so we're actually partnered with MJ Biz Conference for the MJs. So they are a key element, a part of this as well. So, we partnered with them. We are really excited to work with MJ Biz Conference. It's the biggest, cannabis expo in North America. So it ties it all in, and, they're promoting it on their end. We're promoting it as MJ's and Fairchild. And so, yeah, it's a team effort for sure. And we're really excited to have that collaboration.
I feel like you could get a job working for the Emmys.
Me?
Yeah, how do you think you'd like, because you're probably doing the job that like 10 people should be doing? You know, do you feel like you could work for the Academy Awards and just have it be seamless? Because I feel like you're kind of like in the cannabis industry, especially the first year ever doing the MJs, you got nothing to compare it to. You're flying by the seat of your pants. So how do you think you do like working for the Emmys?
Um, I think I would do really well. So, like, I don't know, I thrive on multitasking. So my brain can literally like work wonders and like multitasking different projects at the same time. It's hard for me to focus on one project. If I have multiple, it's easier for me. I don't know. So, I do work and thrive better in a high fast paced environment, and I really enjoy building structure and organization and making sure nothing slips through the cracks. Like that's kind of like my MO. Like I never want to drop the ball. So I think putting me in any of those kind of environments, I would thrive.
Nice. How does one get nominated for an MJ and then how does one win? Like who votes on it?
Yeah, so basically, we start with open voting. We have, as X amount of categories. The past 2 years, it was 26 categories. Now we've knocked it down to 20 categories, and we refine them. And we have meetings with Fairchild and MJ Biz Conference to understand what categories would work best. It's a learning experience, right? What categories did well, what didn't. How do we refine them and consolidate them? And that's kind of how the process works for us. And we're still learning always. And so basically open voting, and people can go in, vote for whatever companies they want. So there's literally like, you don't pick and choose, you literally type in who you want to vote for each category.
Cool.
And then after that, we do it based on how many votes for each company. And there's six brands or companies that are nominated for each category. And so we pick the top six. And then from there, there's another voting process where people will go in and vote out of the top six. And then after that, we bring in hand-selected judges. We don't have those quite yet figured out for this year, but we are in the process of figuring that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And for the brands who do win MJs, like what can that do for a brand? Have you seen brands take off after winning an MJ, or is it just kind of, does it kind of just give you fun bragging rights within the industry? Like what can winning an MJ really do for a brand?
That is a great question. I work behind the scenes, but I do see posts, people that have won, they just go balls out, like taking pictures and making badges and, putting it in their email signatures.
Yes.
Because it's like, hey, we won an MJ. Because the thing is like, we, even though it's only our third year, like we want this to grow to be something like the Emmys, right? And it's just cannabis is huge. Like again, like comparing it to movies and music, it is that big, I think, because there's so many people in the cannabis industry. So we should be proud and loud and celebrating, the victories of, what we're winning in cannabis. And so I think people are really stoked when they do win, and they showcase it. And people that I talk to randomly if I'm at an event and I'm like, yeah, I work for Fairchild. Like, have you ever heard of the MJs? Like, oh yeah, I have heard of it. And like, it's really nice to know that people are aware of it. So as we grow and, we do this like year after year, it will become bigger and bigger. Things take time, but people are being more aware of what the MJs are. So I think brands are super stoked about it. They love it. And, every year, like, they're like, yeah, we want to be a sponsor. We want to be a part of it. Like, we want a table, like, we want to be front and center. They're really excited about it because either they're nominated again or they just like the experience, because there's a lot of people that come to that event. It's one of the main events during MJ Biz Conference, and there's a lot of networking. There's a lot of exposure. And so, there's so many things to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just like, no matter whether you win or lose, it still puts you on a platform. Even getting nominated is amazing. And then fighting to get nominated, it motivates each brand to like, legitimize themselves and put themselves in the discussion, in the conversation. And, so regardless, it's good. It's good for the industry. And, a personal question for you, as someone who's worked with high profile, I mean, working with Ric Flair, Mike Tyson, is it tough to not kind of fangirl when you're working with an A-list celebrity? Because I know you got to stay professional. But if I was working with Mike Tyson, I would not be able to do my job properly. So
That's funny. So the like I think at a certain time of my life I was a fangirl for like certain, celebrities, but like as I got older, like as I was working with them more, I kind of became less and less. But Mike Tyson was the only person that I was like really excited to meet. And it was actually hard to try to meet him as even as someone that was working on site. And there is what was it? It was for our High on Life event at the Saguaro Hotel. It was a hotel takeover, and that's where he was the first time I met him. And I was working with his PR team, and we had to maneuver some stuff around. And I know I was working really hard to like, make sure he was happy. And I was like, hey, is there any possible chance that I can meet him? And he's like, yeah, we'll do it. And like, by the time he came and signed his cabana, everyone was crowded around him. And I was like, there's just no way I'm going to be able to get involved with this. And then I saw, I think it was his manager, and he was like, come here, come here, come here. And I like got to sit next to him and take a picture. Oh yeah, it's on my social media. It was a whole thing. I was like immediately posting like
yeah.
so that was really cool. Ric Flair, he was a fun guy to like talk and mingle with. He had the ladies around him, and I just was like, saying, hey, what's up, hope you're having a good time. I just want to make sure that everyone's happy. They take the time out of their really busy schedules, as celebrities and someone who's always busy like with other events, like we want to make sure they're happy. So it was quite the experience.
That's amazing. So, when you're planning an event as big as the MJ's, where is most of your energy exerted, especially like the month leading up to it? Is it just emails, coordinating? Is it hopping on the phone with vendors? Like, what are you spending most of your time doing?
Coordinating for sure, and making sure everything's tight and the logistics are there. That's kind of my where my strengths are, is just making sure everything is tight and ready to go, and there's no loose ends. I take it very seriously. I really take pride in what I do, and so my job is to make sure that we aren't missing anything important, and we execute to the best of our ability. So definitely coordinating, and it all comes with emails and communication. So
So, what's your secret to staying organized and not letting anything fall through the cracks? Because I feel like it's so easy to let one small minor detail fall through the cracks, which leads to a huge shitstorm. So, like, what's your secret to
gosh.
not letting that happen?
And I have a very healthy brain. I
Just be smarter than other people, is what you're saying.
I, it's just how my brain works, I guess. I also like try to focus on staying healthy and, giving myself the nutrients that I need, working out, eating healthy. And I think plays a very big part in it. I know it might not, but I think it really does. Like I, I do take notes. But like ultimately, like I have this like cloud in my head that I just can't forget things unless it's done. So,
When you work
mhm.
with cannabis brands, do you have to talk to them a little bit differently to get, to get them to do what you want them to do? Or
I mean, no, again, I think it's just making sure that we're all on the same page and we're a team and we understand like what our roles are and like what we need to get done together. So, um, you know, speaking of like outside of like cannabis, like I've done operational, like on-site operations for like Beyond Wonderland and Insomniac events, but those are like more like me hands-on building versus being behind a computer. So like when it comes to the world of events, like you can put me behind a computer and I can stay organized that way, or you can put me on site where I'm working from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the beating sun, doing what I need to do to help build a festival for thousands and thousands of people. So
So, day of the event, I'm sure you've got a million people. I was just at Legacy Cup, and this lady by the name of Marissa did a great job throwing the event. And I'm like, how are you? She was just so chill by the end of the day when literally every second of every like for 24 hours straight, someone was trying to get her attention.
Oh yeah.
I would have like literally had a breakdown. So like, what does it look like the day of the event when everyone is probably fighting, asking you a question, maybe asking you stupid questions? Like, how do you stay sane day of the event?
I take breaths and I try to, because yeah, you are right. Like you see people like coming up to her and just asking her 20,000 questions. So it's just like you have to put one finger out. You're like, okay, come next. Like, what is the question? Compose, take a breath, think about it, and then like, okay, this is what needs to happen here. Okay, what's your question? Okay, it's just like it's just managing that in a timely manner, and also making sure you're not gonna lose your shit at the same time. Sorry, I'm not. I don't know if I can swear on here, but
Oh
it's
no,
like,
I get it. Yeah.
but
Because
I
it,
do think it. Oh, I
sorry.
do think it. Yeah, I do think it takes a type of personality to be able to run, an event with a lot of people, run like, uh, managing multiple people at the same time. And, it's not for the weak hearted. You got to be like, you have to think about everything in a 360. Like, if this were to happen, what, okay, this is happening. So what do we do now? Like, the contingencies, like you have to think, that's how my brain works. So it's like, I'm really grateful that, I have that capability to, work with others and be able to figure things out like at a time, like very quickly.
Yeah. So what's been the most rewarding part of working for the MJs? Or
Man, it's just for me, it's just sitting back and, watching people and seeing that they're laughing and they're having a good time and just being like, damn, like we did that. Like we put that together. And it's for every event. It could be an event for 50 people. Like I just had an event, like a little shindig at my place with just some really close girlfriends. And I was just like, damn, this is so amazing. To thousands of people, smiling. So it's really just making sure that like, they're happy and that makes me happy. We put a lot of work and effort into these events that we do. And, it's just, I don't know, happiness, really.
right.
Just seeing people happy.
Totally. And I'm sure so many people have created like lifelong friendships, business relationships because of meeting at the MJ's or the MJ's after party. Like have you heard like stories from people who are like, "Hey, if you didn't throw the MJ's, I wouldn't have gotten a job. You changed my life." I'm sure there's a lot of stories like that, right?
I mean, you know, not on the top of my head, but I do think that when you put something so special like the MJs together, you're connecting people. And even though I personally haven't heard the stories, I'm sure people have met people through, that pipeline of meeting others in those events. And I'm sure there has been a success story. So I haven't heard any personally, but I'm assuming so.
Love it. So let's talk about the MJs in 2025 versus the MJs in 2024. I know this is year 3. Every
Yep.
year you're fine tuning some things, figuring out how can we make it better than last year.
Hmm.
So in what ways are you guys trying to improve off of 2024?
Yeah. So, first 2 years we did it, like as I mentioned at the Palms. So there was like the Pearl Theater, and then we threw the after party at Chaos. We did that 2 years in a row. And after last year, we just realized that, we need to switch it up. And we took some time to think about it. And we ended up going back to our roots, which was at the industrial. And if you're familiar with our, after parties for MJ Biz conference from like 3 or 4 years ago, we had Shangri-La, the Zodiac event, and our first one, which was Dream House. And if whoever's listening remembers this, like we had a hot air balloon. And that was insane. And like the Zodiac event, we had each brand as a different um, zodiac sign. And then Shangri-La, like we had a huge outdoor experience, like with lounging, like lounge area and like beautiful, like, you know, lit up trees and like a live band, and like the activations were insane. And so the thing is, like, we couldn't do that at the Palms. We had to, it's like we want to make sure that, like, you know, the sponsors are getting their name out to the best of their ability. You know, yeah, you have the LED wall, and, you know, yeah, you have, you know, the VIP tables, some signage, but that, you know, we want to make sure that their presence is visible. And that's really important to us. You know, these events are not cheap, and, you know, brand exposure is very important to us. So, you know, we were able to lock in the industrial this year for the MJs, and, you know, obviously there's not a lot of seating this year, but we wanted to make sure that the after party and the MJs tied together with brand activations and, you know, interactive experiences, you know, and some other things that, you know, we were able to do at the last party. So this year is going to be so much better, and I'm really excited. I think the turnout is going to be like 10 times better than both years, just because we're going back to our roots and people are very familiar with what we did, you know, just 3-4 years ago.
Wow. So the MJ's after party is going to be in the same building as the MJ's, which was different than last year. How do you think, what impact do you think that'll have? I love that idea.
I think it'll be a lot better. You know, we heard what, you know, guests and attendees were saying, and I think that really had a huge impact on like what we needed to like change about what we were doing. You know, we want to listen and hear and like understand, because if we keep falling back into doing what we're doing, and it's not like, it's not making people, like, we want people to come back, right? So we want to, like, you know, what can we do differently? Like, what are the little touch points that will make it more exciting? And so I do think that this is going to make a bigger imprint. And people, like, we have Luna Stower, like she's our host for this year, and she's, you know, she's an amazing woman. I've known her for years, and she's our host, and she's going to do a great job, and she's super excited about it. Like, people are talking about this year versus last 2 years. So, you know, we've been hearing feedback from that as well.
Totally. I've been a fan since I started working in the cannabis industry. I've been a big fan of Luna. Just she's everywhere. What she stands
Yeah.
for is amazing. So tell me
Yeah.
about the process. The process of getting Luna, because so many people in the industry are like, that is a fantastic get. So how did that come about?
Everyone wants her. I know. She's great. Yeah, we're so fortunate. You know, this year, you know, last 2 years we had main presenter or main hosts, and then we had presenters, and then this year, you know, we wanted to keep the flow, the high energy hosts, and we just thought Luna Star would be great for it. And like you said, like what she stands for, she's an advocate. Like, she's just like, she has a high energy about her, and we want to make sure that we're keeping that energy in line with every year. So you know, we talked to her about it, and she was stoked about it. And so, you know, she actually just made a post recently about her being, you know, a host. So it's really exciting that she's excited about it.
And then the MJ after party, there's a certain amount of tickets that you can give out, and what each company there gets a certain amount of tickets. How does the ticketing situation work out? And then can just anybody buy a ticket online, or is it kind of more of an exclusive event?
So the MJ's is more of exclusive, so that is more like of an invite only.
Right.
But the after party is, you know, we have tickets online. You can visit www.themjs.com, and you'll find the links to go get tickets from there. We'll also have a VIP area as well, and that's exciting. It's all going to be tented outside, and, you know, yeah, go buy your tickets. Like, we're gonna sell out for sure. So go buy your tickets, guys.
Buy them now. And there are some things that Estelle isn't even saying because we want to keep it a secret, but she's got some tricks up her sleeve. So does Green Rebates. So
Yeah, actually, yeah. Thumbs up. We haven't told you this yet, but we're excited to welcome you to the stage for the the MJ.
Oh my God, thank you so much. You mean E-Money's gonna perform?
Yeah, E Money is gonna perform.
You will
Yeah.
after we release this info, you will sell out in 24 hours. I guarantee you. No, I'm
Yep, yep.
kidding.
We decided yesterday, and I wanted to surprise you on the show today.
Oh my
So,
God, thank you
yeah.
so much. I thought it was a long shot, but that is
Nope.
I'm very appreciative.
I I listened to your music and I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. Like, and we'll talk about logistics later, but congratulations.
Thank you
Yay.
so much. It'll be quick, 2 songs in and out. I'm not gonna hog the stage. Just something to, like you said, it's all about keeping the energy high. And
hmm
I'm very grateful and excited for that. So what has been what's been your proudest since, MJ's aside, since just throwing events, what's been your proudest, like, I actually pulled that off moment?
Wow, that's a really big question. I I right now work for myself. I have a company called Multitask, and I started this company a little bit after like COVID because my job kind of shifted in what that looked like. And I would say actually maybe it was like a year or so after COVID. And I realized that while I was working in the events world, like people really wanted to work with me alone. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should just start my own company and kind of, understand like what their goals are and like how I can tailor to their needs. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So I've had multi-esque for the past almost 3 years. April will be 3 years. And so that was really exciting for me. I never had my own business before. And so I'm really like, talking about multitasking. Like I can do anything from like web design to project management to event coordinating to logistic to operations. And right now, I'm currently working for a company called Canna Management Group. Greg and Jason are the founders. They have been working together for collectively, I think, like 20 plus years. And I think one of the most accomplished events that I've had was working with them. They do these really awesome bud tender series events, and they take place in California. And we invite over 1,000 bud tenders. And where we did it at was Rancho Las Lomas, and it's like kind of like you go into this serene, almost like it's like kind of like you're in Mexico. They have like the trees. It was an exotic zoo at one point, and now we sit out to people for like who like want to have a wedding there. Like it's a beautiful wedding venue, but we had an event there a couple months ago, Summer Haze, and you know operating that with just me and two other people, and actually like three other people, was very intense. Like we budgets are tight, we have to work with what we got. We have like major anchors of like not major anchors, sorry, like square footage of like property that we have to work with. So we're like riding golf carts around and trying to get this done, signage, all of these things before doors. So things were running in late, and I had to figure out what the solution was for that. And so like that was one of the most intense events that I've done, but we pulled it together, and it has such a big mark on people's like memory, because it's like, wow, I was able to grab so much business because of that. And so bud tenders are the core of cannabis brands. Like they are the front facing people, and they have to sell your cannabis. Like they have to sell your product. And so when you have these brands there, they're testing product, trying it out, learning about it. That is a really big deal. And I really love helping people educate themselves about cannabis, and or being a part of something so special like that. So I would say like that in itself was like a huge accomplishment. So yeah, we will be doing another bud tender series in the spring. We don't have a name for it yet, but yeah, we're really excited about that one.
That's amazing. Yeah, bud tenders, I always try to say that they're the most undervalued, underrated aspects of the whole
hmm
industry. Like if they're
hmm
not, if they're not educated, then they can't do their jobs, and they're the ones. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of people who just stroll into cannabis clubs and they don't even know if they want to be cannabis consumers. They just think it's cool, and like one
Hmm.
great interaction with a bud tender can turn that person into a user, a safe recreational user, and can change that person's life and can maybe get that person off of prescription pills or like
Yep.
hazardous drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how much power bud tenders have.
Exactly. And
So
I think like it's not just about educating, it's not just about like getting high. It's about learning about the plant itself and the medicinal benefits of it. And right now with Canna Management Group, we're working on a bud tender program, and building that out because we again like their heart and soul is like in the bud tender community in California, amongst other things. Like they do whole like Canna Management Group does wholesale, consulting, brand development, and they have all these different elements, and so they work really hard, with their company, and then also like with dabbling in all these other different things. So I'm there to kind of help, facilitate that with them. And so yeah, we're working on this bud tender program, and we really think it will be helpful because again, education is really important. Obviously people want to get high, but also understand like what the benefits are, and learning about the brand and their history and their morals. And that's another thing, is morals, I think, is super important. Like there's a lot of, this is me just in my opinion, but there's a lot of brands out there that they like, oh yeah, I just smoked to get high. It's like, okay, well, what about your brand makes it so special? Like, what are your morals? Like, what do you think about, what makes your brand different? Maybe I'm just picky or something, but I just think those things are very important.
totally. People want to know the story behind the brand and they want to know their
Hmm.
why. If
Yeah,
you don't have a strong
exactly.
why, you're gonna it's gonna be tough for you because cannabis is it's a tough time right now, and regardless, it's just such a competitive
Hmm.
industry.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the MJs, we got, we've talked a lot about the MJs coming up.
Hmm.
This is year 3. Can you give a sneak peek into, besides E-Money, which obviously is the A list? I mean, Mike Tyson, who? But
Yeah.
but are there any? Can you give us any other sneak peeks into what guests or cool events that we can expect for this year's MJs?
Well, this year's theme is the Orchid Suite, and we're kind of doing a spin-off of the White Lotus that showed White Lotus. And so we're thinking it's going to be kind of like a neon-esque, glamorous hotel experience. So, we're really excited about that. And there's some other things that we're currently in motion with, but obviously, we don't want to give too much away. So I'm going to stop
Totally.
there.
I love the White Lotus theme. You can never go wrong with a White Lotus themed party. Because even if you don't watch the show, you're aware it's just so prevalent in the zeitgeist that
Yeah.
everyone knows.
Yeah.
So I know during this interview you probably have 30 new emails. So I got a couple more questions. I don't want to take too much of your time, but one question I really wanted to ask you is what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs? There's a lot of people these days. I mean, it's so hard to get a job. A lot of people are like, I might have a better shot just starting my own company than getting hired because it's so competitive out there. So, what advice do you have to young entrepreneurs?
Don't give up. Keep trying, keep pushing yourself. It took me a while to get where I am today. And with someone who does not have a college degree, I'm very fortunate to have met the people that I've met, and just hone in on what your goals are for your future job and gain the experience, learn, work with people for like, if you want to do event production, as an example, like see if you can jump in on an event for free and learn what part of that event you want to learn. Or it's hard because a lot of businesses and brands or companies are like looking for college background, but I also believe that if you have the experience and the knowledge from working with other people, you can fit in just as fine. So don't give up, keep working hard. It's tough. I've had so many breakdowns, but I'm really grateful that I've worked so hard to be where I am. So yeah, just keep going, keep pushing, And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me personally and wants to talk to me and has questions, like, I am very much available and open to listen and give my advice. I don't know, like, I'm not a mentor or anything, but I can teach what I've learned. James and David were my mentors, are still my mentors in a lot of different ways. Like, they taught me what I know. So if I could pass that knowledge down, I would definitely love to do that.
Love it. That's sound advice from a true professional. So we appreciate that. And on behalf of the people listening to that and whose lives will be forever changed because of that soliloquy, thank you on behalf of them. And is there anything else? I guess the last question is, like, why should people buy a ticket to the MJ's after party? Why is it going to be a
Oh,
life-changing
man.
experience?
Because if you know our past events, even before the MJs, you know that we like collectively put together like a beautiful, elegant, tasteful event. Like, everything from when you walk in to when you leave, there's always an experience. And I think, a lot of people listening are, because, it's this podcast. Haven't you heard of us? Like, you should totally come anyway. It's going to be a great time. Like, we love doing this. We do it for the industry. We do it for you. Obviously the goal is to make everyone, comfortable, happy, and like have a space to talk to one another and build business. And yeah, that's really important. So yeah, I mean, you should just buy a ticket regardless and come.
Yeah. So tell our viewers where they could find you, Fairchild, your personal, where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Estelle SKO. And then if you want to follow the Fairchild, it's at the Fairchild, FARECHILD, and at the MJs, just like it sounds. And yeah, visit us at www.themjs.com to get your tickets if you're interested in sponsoring, and all that information that you need to know will be on there. Voting ends for the MJ's nominations on November 3rd, which is literally right around the corner. So get your votes in for your favorite brands. And yeah.
And if you're just not even in the cannabis industry and you want someone to throw the best party of all time, hit up my girl Estelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I just wrote a rebate check, 500K, call free money. You can change your life in a day, all good. You ain't gotta find me to thank.